Ice Block 2021. Vaal River. Hard bottoms. Jet skis. Inflatables. We are bringing you the action from the banks of the Emerald Resort and Casino on the Vaal River, hosting the 2021 Ice Block event. Weather conditions for the day were fairly moderate and not as cold as previous years, with most of the riders and spectators soaking up the sun at the banks. The event had 3 different categories, being pencil ducks, hard bottoms and jet skis. Riders from across the country came up to be part of this event. The event was hosted over a 2-day period, with the first day being a long haul of 127 kilometers broken up into 4 laps, and the second day consisting of a mini haul in the pencil duck class. Riders were all eager to get their watercraft scrutineered before launching took place in the icy cold water of the Vaal River. The event is a family-orientated event. However, due to current COVID-19 regulations, spectators had to be limited and had to abide to the set regulations set out for social gatherings. An array of different beautiful watercraft were all lined up ready to be launched, with team members doing last-minute setups. As you can see, there's boats and riders that have come up from across the country with their watercraft branded with all their relevant sponsors. Such an array of gazebos out in full swing with branding sponsorships on display, riders standing below, and boats steadily filling up the jetty areas.
M55.
All the riders gathered together for the race briefing that was hosted by
M54.
Barry Marks and May Berry on the banks. This was just to emphasize the safety of the event, the rules and regulations, and to make sure that everybody had their fuel station set up accordingly, as no decanting was allowed on this event off the jetties themselves. There was an area in front of the jetties that was allocated for refueling, where riders could swap out fuel tanks as and when they needed to during the duration of the race. Safety of this event was top priority, and paramedics and medical personnel were situated all along the banks of the racing event to ensure the safety of spectators and the riders themselves, both on and off the water. Once the race briefing was over, the guys made their way down to the boat launch and started putting their crafts into the water to make their way up to the jetties. This was for final call to be made when the race was going to begin, and from there boats made their way up to the starting buoy. Racing started with the pencil ducks being in 3 classes: modified, blueprint and stocks, all starting together in a line, followed by the hard bottoms and then followed by the jet skis thereafter. Riders were all lined up in their kits on the banks waiting for the safety boats to make their way to the allocated points to ensure safety of the event. We had a chance to speak to one of the teams, Team Infinitum Solutions, one of the sponsors of the events as well, for their input on the event. Guys, we Team Infinitum Solutions are on cars. It's an absolute privilege to be here on this very cold day. It's actually our first ice block, myself and my cousin. It's our first ice block together, so we're really looking forward to this event and we're hoping for the best. These guys were doing their first event in the stock class as they're making their way down to the boat launch. This event was covered by Henny Air, where all the aerial footage was covered. As you can see, these guys were making their way up to the starting line, where all the pencil ducks had made their way up to line up for the start. Starting with the modifieds on the left, blueprints in the middle, and on the far out hand side the stock class. It's an absolute sight to see all these boats lined up and ready to go. As soon as these green flags drops down, you hear that awesome sound of these engines roaring as they start making their way down the start line. As you can see how these guys go across the start line, you can see how the faster boats helping the modified start breaking away from the pack, and then thereafter you'll see the blueprints right behind them on their tails. As you can see, the pack's busy filtering out, faster boats are breaking away. There we'll have visuals of the stock class boats right at the back behind the faster guys. An array of different boats here. There's a Thundercat going down there. Here we have the front runners. These modified boats can run speeds over 100 kilometers an hour. Most of them running modified Yamaha 50 horsepower motors, running on race fuel, high octane fuel. Here in the front we've got René Leroux on his M40, followed by M8 Rocco and Jono. Hot on their tail we've got Calvin Murray and Timothy Walker chasing him down on their Thundercats, also running in the modified class. Followed by them, as they come around the first bend, you can see how they're breaking away from the blueprint class. Awesome footage here of Calvin Murray and Timothy Walker on their Thundercat inflatable. They're making their way right to the front of the pack, with a good old race between him and M8 Rocco as he's chasing down the front runners, René Leroux, on their modified 40. The other guys are doing speeds between 90 and 100 kilometers an hour as they're making their way back up the banks of the Vol River. Excellent footage here by Henley, being piloted by Andre. They've been with the Ice Block for many years doing all the aerial footage of this event. As you can see, these guys are holding on and the concentration is absolutely real here as these guys fly down the water. As you can see, there's a bit of wakes on the water from other boats passing by and other boats on the water, but not too much to worry about for these guys, as these are experienced racers as they make their way down to the first turn. Here we can see some aerial footage of some of the other modified guys coming through, the likes of Nikita Tromp and Mane Skinner, followed by some of the blueprint guys, Jaco Klosterseal, Richard Hull, Billy Bezuidenhout, as they make their way hot on the tail behind the modifieds. Stay tuned for some more action for the start of the hard bottoms and the jet skis on the 2021 Ice Block.